Okay. You know, sometimes when you talk in their spit, yeah.
Okay, are we good now?
Yes, the spit has been swallowed.
Welcome back to another episode of Pineapple Headache. We are back from our four
Wow.
week hiatus.
Oh, yeah, it is like exactly 4 weeks because today Evermore is a month old, so. And that was part of the reason.
Oh, yeah, why don't you tell the audience the reason why we ended up going on a 4 week hiatus?
Okay, it wasn't just because of Evermore, but it started that because we usually record on Thursdays, and as we all know, on I don't even know what day it was, but December 11th, I think that might have been a Friday, but so the Thursday before that, the day before, Taylor Swift was like, surprise, I have another album. So obviously, I was not present to do anything for like the following week. And then after that, it was holidays. So, in conclusion, here we are many weeks later.
Yes, happy holidays, happy new year to all our five listeners.
Yeah, is it a Happy New Year?
Well, it's a new year, but from the events that have happened lately, it just seems like a continuation of 2020.
Yep, good vibes only, yay.
Yeah. How were you on when did it happen? Last Wednesday?
I think the 6th, so exactly 5 days ago. Yes, it was the 6th,
Anyway, how does
I
it
think.
feel to live through a coup in America?
Or, or an attempted coup. Um, that was definitely something. I was literally watching the news when they were actually doing the like the certification of the electoral college votes like in the morning when they were actually doing what like that whole thing. So I saw live when that was happening, and then I started seeing on social media like, oh, there's like all these like quote unquote protesters outside like trying to get in the building. So then all of a sudden like the news, like I was watching CNN, and so the like they just stopped with the certification thing, and they were just showing all this like chaos outside, and they were like, yeah, they had to stop doing the actual Senate thing because people were breaking into the building and all that. So that was very wild to see live. Um, what about you? How did you experience that?
I had work that day, so I have an unpaid internship for a media company. And so I was working that day. I wasn't really active on my phone or online that much just because, I had work to do. And I started getting a bunch of Twitter notifications about Trump supporters storming the Capitol. And I was like, what's going on? And so I saw that happen over Twitter. And then I had a meeting with my boss and my coworkers. And my boss was like, oh, hey, Happy New Year. How's it going? And part of me was like, is anyone seeing what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now or what? But I had to keep it professional. So I was like, oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
Just keep it professional, safe face during another global event. Just another major historical event.
Yeah, another major historical event in the books that we've lived through. Also, it's kind of weird because I had seen this TikTok of like this French person being like, "This is the first coup I've ever seen where the people wanted to keep the leader in his place and not
Yeah.
overthrow him." And I was like,
Yeah.
that's kind of dumb,
Yeah.
isn't it?"
Yeah, I saw a thing too where people were like, "Isn't the whole thing with the coup is they're trying to like kill the leader?" Like this is like the exact opposite. Though then they were trying to like get Mike Pence because of Trump's tweet during that whole thing. So, um, which just this whole thing was just so like once like it like now that it's like in hindsight, like media outlets are like putting all the pieces together and stuff, and you really like can see how clearly it like played out, like how literally that morning Trump was like, we're gonna march down Pennsylvania Avenue, we're gonna march to the Capitol, we're gonna protest, we're not gonna be we're gonna go show these Congress people that we're here, even though we don't like all of them, or like whatever he was saying. So like he literally said that, and then everything started happening. So If that is not grounds for impeachment or conviction or literally all of the above, I don't know what is. Because I learned there's an actual amendment about this too. Because now they're trying to hold a bunch of the um, representatives and senators who were also kind of part of the whole fraudulent election conspiracy. They're trying to hold like their other members of Congress trying to hold them accountable by expelling them because I think it's the 14th Amendment. I like explicitly states like no like member of Congress can like contribute to an insurrection basically, and I was like, wow, like they really thought ahead, like the people writing the Constitution and all the amendments before, like they really thought about all the things that could happen because now that's very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, lately I've been seeing AOC just kind of go off on Twitter, attacking every congressperson who is like would have like added flame to this whole result of the Le Coup. And I've been seeing a lot of back and forth between her and Ted Cruz, and like honestly, I'm ready for Ted Cruz
Yes.
to leave. He can leave his seat for Texas. I need someone new.
if if they actually pass the if they I don't know what like the actual like process is if like this bill were to get passed or however that would work to expel them or whatever, but he would be on that list for sure. He would be on the chopping block. So crossing my fingers.
Yeah. And then also, with what happened at the Capitol, there was a lot of interesting interactions between the police and the domestic terrorists.
Yeah, that was like the ones taking selfies. I was like interesting. The ones that were like that one video where it showed them just kind of letting them through the barricade. I what? But I think we do need to highlight that one guy, Officer Goodman or whatever, that one who went the viral video of that one cop who was getting chased up the stairs in the Capitol building and stuff. Because apparently there was like a whole story to that where it's like they were chasing him and like from that one video it just looked like this huge mob was chasing this one guy. But I
Oh,
was seeing earlier today that the actual context of what had happened was that he like they were following him up the stairs and he passed like he came to this part where you could either keep going up the stairs or if you'd like turn to walk onto that floor it literally would have been the Senate chambers, and he got to the top of the stairs and saw that the Senate chamber was not secured yet, and so then he purposefully like kind of pushed the leader of that mob to kind of like rile him up and like get him to just focus on him, and then he started running up the stairs so that they would follow him and completely ignore the Senate chamber and stuff. And like honestly like him doing that like probably saved like all those senators lives, and I think Mike Pence was in there too when that happened. Like that like one guy literally saved like all these like lives that were literally in that unsecured area. And obviously like since like so many of those like white supremacists as they also are, like so many of them were found to have like guns and like bombs and like zip ties and all that afterward, like they literally could have like done a lot more damage, like depending on things how things played out. So like kudos to that one officer who like just realized like what needed to be done, and he like used himself as bait to like lead them like this complete opposite direction to where there were more like guards and stuff. Like wow, what a hero.
wow, I did not know that. Well, kudos to that officer for, yeah, saving a lot of, of important lives, especially,
Saving like the government.
yeah, especially when the votes were
Yeah.
being certified and all that. Wow, okay. Um,
Yeah, and Mike Pence being in there and that crowd being all like, "Hang Mike Pence" or whatever cuz Trump like threw him under the bus as this whole thing was playing out, like knowing that he was in that building and stuff. Like it's just everything that just happened is just like so like it's just wild. Like I don't know what I expected out of these last 4 years when this whole thing began, but at the same time, I feel like everything that's happened in the last 4 years, if I had told it to myself after he was first elected, I kind of would have been like, I'm kind of not surprised because I feel like you could kind of see some of it coming, but it was still very like unsettling to witness live
yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, like when I was seeing everything unfold through Twitter, I don't know. I think part of me has grown kind of numb to a lot of things happening. Like the fact that the Capitol was stormed by Americans.
Yeah.
It was not that surprising to me considering all of the rhetoric that Trump and a lot of people have been kind of pushing and influencing these people to believe things without logically thinking it through is not good. I don't know, it's just like there's just so much irony in the
Yeah.
way that Trump supporters carry themselves, like the whole thing of like Blue Lives Matter, but then like they're waving the Blue Lives Matter flag and then just kind of fighting the
Yeah,
police.
like I've been seeing like cuz I've just like, it's like a car crash, you can't look away, right? Like I've had the news on like every single day like since this whole thing happened because they keep like uncovering new information, arresting new people, like the whole no fly list and all that. And then now like they're getting more of the footage from like people, since so many people were like filming what was happening, like there were journalists there who were like genuinely like being journalists filming everything happening, but then there were like so many people in the crowd just like filming just for being all like, oh, look at us go, where like to the extent where I'm like, okay, good job hiding your identity, question mark.
Like you played yourself,
Yeah,
like
like you,
like you really played
and the
yourself.
fact that like so many of them don't wear masks, but like I keep getting all, there's all these like horrific videos coming out of them like actually like brutally attacking like police officers. Like yesterday, like CNN could not stop playing this one same video where like they were trying to get into this one part of the building or through this one entrance, and like there was this one officer in like riot gear just like completely surrounded by this mob, and he was trying to close the door on them, but like he had gotten wedged between, like it was like a two-door thing, and so like one of the doors was open, he was trying to close it, but because of the crowd he like got wedged in between the doors, and they were just like literally crushing him. And so in this video you can just hear him like crying out in pain because he was literally being crushed alive. And I was just, and then like there was the ones where they're like dragging, I think there was one where they dragged an officer down the stairs and stuff, and then just started like beating him up with like the flagpoles and all that. And I was just like, what is happening? Like what the hell? Like it's just, everything is just so disturbing. I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, coming from the a lot of people who claimed like that they're in the Blue Lives Matter crowd is that's interesting.
It's a, it's very, I mean, it is very interesting seeing how that has played out, and I know a lot of people have been comparing it to the Black Lives Matter protests when it was at its peak back during the summer, and how the
Mhm.
police treated, you know, those peaceful protests and whatnot. But
It
there's a lot
was
of
it
there's
looked, the difference was very obvious.
This is definitely a document-based question that kids in like 2040 or 2050 will
On
get on their
Apish.
AP US history
Yeah,
exams.
like when our generation has kids, like they're gonna be like, "Hey, do you remember this?" And I'm gonna be like, "Please do not talk to me about this," or I will then lecture them about it, be like, "I remember exactly what I was doing that day or whatever, how I felt and stuff." Like it's just so wild. And now it's gotten to the, like now there's the whole FBI memo thing about how there's all these armed protests planned for all 50 state capitals across the country, basically, because these people are everywhere and they're just gonna go parade around and be really violent. And I know that I think they've already been having that problem with the Proud Boys, at least in Sacramento, for a while now. So I guess that'll just keep continuing.
Oh,
Yeah, and
yikes.
then there's also all the like recall Gavin Newsom people there. Like there's just a lot going on in like state capitals these days. So now is definitely not the time to go peruse downtown.
I mean, we do have the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden coming up soon, and I
And
wouldn't
I'm very
put it past
nervous.
them. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to attempt a violent act such as an assassination.
Yeah. I was very surprised today when they were like, "Yeah, we're doing it at the Capitol." And I think I even saw a thing where Biden was like, "Yeah, I'll do it outside still, like how they
Oh,
usually
like
do
out
it."
in
Because
the
I think
open?
normally it's like because normally they do it and basically where everybody, I think from my like obviously it's been a while since I've seen an inauguration, but I think it's like basically in that whole area where all the Trump people who were storming the Capitol were, like the outside area of like that Pennsylvania Avenue Capitol Mall, whatever it's called. Like I think they usually have it someplace outside there, where because they usually have the huge crowd of people watching. So I think Biden was like, "I'll do it there." I think I'm not 100% sure. I feel like I just saw this as a headline, but obviously I figure because of COVID, it's already going to be a not public event
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, I'm sure.
Um, But now they're really gonna have to like up the security and stuff of it and make sure like, people don't like have the access that they did last week. Because like I also saw a video from 2017 after the whole thing happened last week that showed now Senator Warnock in Georgia, who is a reverend. I don't know the full context, but he was like having like a peaceful protest at the like inside the Capitol building where he was like kneeling and praying, and then a bunch of like Capitol police officers just came in and just like arrested him. Like there's literally like 10 of them, and then just him just praying on the ground, and they all came to arrest him. And I was like, this is more like police presence just for one guy I'm seeing in this video than like I feel like I
Oh,
saw in anything from the siege last week. So I really don't know what's happening there.
oh yeah, I remember. Because I saw that, and then I also saw people were bringing up how I think like sometime last year, like priests and nuns were like peacefully protesting at the Capitol to pray for, I think, children being separated from their parents. And then they also like got arrested too, so I'm just like, I am uneasy with this.
Yeah, it's just I don't, and I think now they're having a big internal investigation within the Capitol Police to figure out like what was happening. And like obviously I will acknowledge that a big part of the problem was that Trump didn't like he was asked to send in like I think the Capitol Police Force requested really early on like a National Guard to come through and like backup and stuff, and Trump basically said no to that. And it wasn't until like a couple hours into this that Pence finally like said yes and like was like, okay, send the National Guard in. So that definitely compounded the problem. But there was still definitely something weird going on within the Capitol Police Force for the to get so out of hand so fast. Like I don't know, because it just feels like so many other places are like and it's kind of a meme now. Like all the memes of like this is more secure than the Capitol building. Like Costco is a more secure building than the Capitol building because they check your membership card and then they check your receipt. Like they're keeping an eye on things, and it's like feels like that's more secure than the Congress.
It's a lot. I don't know. I don't like yeah, it is a lot to process, and I think part of me hasn't really thought about what has happened in the last few days because that happened and then Trump's
It's just a lot to
Twitter
process.
finally got permanently suspended and he got expelled from all of these other sites including Spotify and Pinterest. The man can't listen to music.
Yeah, so he can't make his little like racism mood board or whatever you do on Pinterest. I saw a TikTok where he supposedly made an OnlyFans. I have no idea if that was true, but according to the video of the page on OnlyFans, it was like literally a Trump OnlyFans page. So I don't know. But and then he was banned from Google. I don't know what
He
that
can't
means.
Google
Like
search
Gmail?
anything. He can't Google search
Like he has to
anything.
use Bing?
He has to use Bing, Yahoo,
Or like
Internet
what's he gonna do? Like
Explorer.
AOL? Like what? Like he's gonna use AOL Instant Messenger, like the '90s kids or whatever, like or MySpace. But I think I saw a thing where MySpace was also because I think MySpace is like kind of still alive, and I think they were just like
I mean,
no. But it's
Google.
also funny to me because. Oh, I was just gonna say it's also funny to me because this is one of those. You know how you have those moments where you're like, "Wow, how did people do this like 20 years ago before the internet?" And it's like, in reality, Trump is literally only the second president to have social media while in office because Obama was the first. So, like, Twitter and all that really took off during the time Obama was in office. So, Trump was like the first person to come in with a pre existing, like, social media presence and, like, brand and all that. Um, so it's like, because I was talking to my grandma about it, and she was like, how is he going to say stuff like, or whatever? And I'm like, well, like, how did like George Bush and everyone before him communicate with the American people? It's like because he still has all his White House resources and his like press people, and like if he wanted to go on the news, he like could or whatever. Like so, it's just gonna go back to it's like essentially just how it was before the internet. But it's so funny because it's like just shows how ingrained like internet is into everything now that it's like almost like unthinkable of like wow the president can't communicate with me to my Twitter. He has to go through his White House people and then make a press release and then release it to the newspaper or
I mean, yeah, I
something.
mean, like, he's still gonna have, like, he would still have access to all of these sites and networks just via the White House, but I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more censorship. I don't know if that's the right word, but, like,
Quote deplatforming, I think is
yeah,
more accurate.
because, I mean, it was 4 years too late with Twitter and all of the other sites, because honestly, like, for what, like 150 characters on Twitter that you could like type on Twitter, he's still somehow able to deliver very like dangerous and powerful messages that really ring in people's minds, which is a very scary thing to think about, that could convince you to believe certain things. And it kind of just shows how, how a lot of people in our country kind of lack a lot of critical thinking skills.
Yeah, or it's like I think a lot of people just get like not and I don't mean this like maliciously, but it's just some people are just easy to like dupe or like depending on like just their like it's part of it is a big like a big part of it is like the whole educational thing too, like who's college educated, who's not, or like depending on like the schools you went to like growing up or like the kind of people you grew up around and all that, like because it's always been so interesting to me that like so much of his like a like not fan base but like supporter base, if that's a word for it, like they're like working class or like they're not like rich, like they're not a bunch of billionaires like he is, or I don't know if he's a billionaire, millionaire, whatever heir he is. Like most of his, like the people that were out in the Capitol doing all that, like they're for their entire lives they will always be a gazillion percent closer to living in poverty than they will be to living at his income level, and like that's just how big the wealth, that's
Oh,
just how
for
big like the
sure.
like all of us, anybody who's middle class or just making like 100 200K a year, like congrats, like you're literally always going to be closer to living in poverty than closer to living like a millionaire or billionaire or whatever. And it's like so interesting to me that like I don't know, like because it just seems like if I was like if a billionaire came up to me and was like, I have your best interests at heart as an elected official, I'm gonna help you, I'd be kind of like, would you really get what I'm going through, especially because Trump was born into wealth too. um so he didn't really ever live as a normal person with a normal amount of money. So I don't know. It's just weird to think of like someone literally like exponentially wealthier than you, like so much so that you will literally never come close to his wealth in your lifetime. Like I'm just always like, how can you like trust like someone who's in that position compared to you to like have your best interest at heart? And then like because then unsurprisingly, it's like he's given the tax breaks to corporations and won't give us like the stimulus checks, like besides the one $600 one and then the one initial $1,200 one or whatever. And it's just like depending on where you get your like information from and stuff, like it's so easy to just get like bought into like the lies and all that and stuff. And it's just like it's just such a complicated issue. I don't even know how to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you did hit the nail on the head though about talking about that since Trump is someone who was born into wealth and doesn't know what exactly these lived experiences for the working class are, like you are right, he's kind of in this ivory tower that doesn't understand the importance of things such as like stimulus checks or like or who is it, or when a lot of Trump supporters were like, "Oh my God, Joe Biden is gonna raise our taxes if we like make more than $400,000 in salary," and it's like a lot of people are not gonna make that kind of money. So like that should not be your problem. And I think part of the whole thing with, voting and being involved in government and knowing who you're voting for is important because these are people who are representing you, and it all starts all the way at the bottom with like city officials.
Yeah, like all your local people and stuff. Yeah, it's just like I'm just like there's so much like misinformation. I was gonna say something but I forgot, but it's just so much like misinformation and just the way like I think it's all presented in like the media and stuff. And I saw like I remember seeing this one interesting post about like just the like media access before too, where it was saying like Like, you ever notice how if you, like, are like, oh, this thing happened today, so I'm gonna try to find a news story on it, and so you, like, Google it, and then, so, like, the first few things that'll pop up is, like, New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, and then you click on them, and it's, like, paywall, 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 but you know what, like, never has
Oh,
a
you're true.
paywall is, like, Fox News, or, like, Breitbart, however you pronounce them, like, those for some reason, like, those are always pretty much free. And then it's like, so you're literally only stuck in terms of free, like, news resources. You're always stuck with, like, those. And then just, like, your local, like, like your ABC affiliate or, like, your, like, Fox LA or, like, whatever. Like, you have, like, the, like, normal, like, kind of TV news ones that, like, have stuff, but, like, the actual, like, journalism stuff, like, that are, like, New York Times, Washington Post, and all that. Usually, like, the really, like, credible ones and stuff are like the ones that are paywalled, and then the ones that have a super heavy bias, and this goes for I guess both directions, because I mean CNN is also free, BuzzFeed News is free, but Fox News is also free, Breitbart is also free, that OAN or whatever that a lot of the Trump people like always cite, that's free to, like, it's just that is another big part. There's like a class issue within the uh distribution of knowledge as well. And it just goes to show how deeply rooted all these issues are, to the point where I'm like, I literally don't know what the solution is. Like, it's just, everything is just messed
I
up.
mean, that's usually the answer nowadays. Like a lot of, oh my God, a lot of things in 2020, I think have just shown a lot of people that like, where do you even start with trying to solve these issues? They're so big and they're so complex and deep rooted that it just seems impossible to figure
I don't
out.
know. And yeah, and then I'm just like, I think one of the biggest things to me when I try to put myself in like the perspective of like the people who do like subscribe to these like ideologies that like Trump pushes and stuff, or like, I mean, white supremacy and prejudice and all that, I really don't know how you get to that point, but like any of the other stuff, um I'm just like, I don't understand how to get to that point. I don't know. I really struggle to like think like, I keep thinking of things and forgetting them when I'm talking. There's just too much to say.
Yeah, but it's also like, what is there to say? Because there is so much to say. And I feel like a lot of people have a lot to say. I don't know what I'm saying,
I know,
but
I keep losing my train of thought,
I don't know,
bro.
it's just
Like,
so
my
much
brain just keeps leaving the station.
there there's so much information that you have to get into your head, and there's not enough time for you to process and break down what exactly everyone is saying and what exactly they mean, you know?
Or just like, it's just because every issue is just so interconnected. Like, that it's just like, you can't, like, I don't know what the way, there's no like path to undo every single issue, because they're just that deeply like intertwined with each other.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, one of the things that I just never like understand, why people who are in like the like in the camp that all those like terrorists at the Capitol were in, is like the fact that we like, literally the US is like the class clown of the entire world. Like, literally every other country is just constantly like looking at us like, literally, what the hell is going on over there? Like, they're all just looking at us like we're like buffoons all the time. And like, even our political ideologies are so like the things that people perceive here as like radical left are like literal like they're like, they'll be like moderate or barely left in like other Western countries too and stuff. um that it's just like, we are literally living in we've like made our own like plane of existence to live in, where every other country is just looking at us like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening? And stuff. Like, I just am like, I can't, like, as I understand why they think we are literal embarrassment, and I think in a lot of ways we are, so I don't know why, like, people can't see that too. And I feel like so much of, like, patriotism just gets, like, like, I mean, the hyper patriotism ties into, like, issues of nationalism and all that, but if we're actually talking about an actual, like, I do love my country, I want the best for my country, then, like, isn't the way to do that is you want your country to be better and you want it to improve, it's not just blindly being like, yeah, America, yeah, I have so much pride and stuff. It's like wanting to do actual work to better life for everybody here, to make other countries be like, wow, you guys got good stuff going on. But like the side that claims to be so patriotic and so loving of America is like, they're not actually putting in the work to do that or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the thing is that those people who are so hyper fixated on America, you know, being great
Like
again, or
America.
America was great before, gives them the idea that America itself is the best country in the world. And so it's like, if you're the best, you know how like Melania was like the best?
Yes.
It's like you can't do any better. You can't do any better than best. So why would you believe that there's so much more to improve on? Whereas I think like as more people start to see more into like issues regarding, you know, race, class, those type of things, you start to notice how people are unable to live, you know, a comfortable life, especially in this pandemic without, you know, the inability to pay for rent or the inability to pay for food on the table, or having to go to work and put your life at risk every day of contracting COVID, because what else can you do? And you see all these other countries like providing stimulus checks for like $2,000 a month to like pay your rent, like get all the necessities you need, whatever it takes to keep you inside and safe, and their cases are like going down and not surging like the United States of America, if that we're even a united nation at this point.
Yeah, just it feels just more like each state. Well, especially with the way the pandemic has been handled, with the lack of direction from the president and the federal level, it really has been every state for themselves. Pretty much since the pandemic started, which definitely like no one's gonna be united that way. Like that was already sowing seed. Like on top of it, just everything else that's going on. Like I feel like that definitely just also contributes to like how is this united when literally it's like the president is infighting with governors and like threatening to like withhold resources from California because we're the big scary liberal people who won't just like bend over backwards for him or whatever. Like that is no way to like be unified or like united or anything. So I feel like we just have not been united for a long
Yeah,
time.
it's uneasy stuff. And also to be like a young 20-year-old like just trying to get their life started in a
Just
pandemic
pandemic things.
while the American government is just on a weird it's going through a weird phase.
It's just it's going through a like like it's just it feels like all the stuff that happened last week and stuff that's happening now, like kind of going back to this idea of like, oh, if I told me from 2016 this was gonna happen, I would have been kind of like, well, like it just feels like in the terms, if we were looking at it like one long movie, it's just everything that was just planted along the way is finally having its big climactic playoff right now. Like in that DBQ TikTok I sent, or you sent, I saw it too before you sent it, where it was like, oh, like here's all these sources from like the pandemic and stuff that happened in 2020, like connect it to the insurrection on 2021 in the cap on January 6th, 2021 in the Capitol. And it's just like this is just a big culmination of everything that's happened in the last few years, and even before that too, because even like just Trump's presidency and everything just feels like even before all this stuff was happening, I remember people like describing it as like the pendulum kind of swinging in this complete opposite direction from like having our first black president who was like a Democrat and like had some like pretty like landmark stuff done like in terms of like leftist quote unquote policies and stuff. So it's like we kind of just swung in this complete reactionary opposite direction to be like, oh my god, how do we do that?
It's just very much so chaotic of a time, because like you said, the pendulum just swung like really hard. Yeah. I don't know. And then like today, because I think it was you or it was one of our other friends who sent the whole thing about someone hacking the state government website.
Yeah, it'd be like that. And then it turned out to just be a disgruntled staffer. Like, bro, we are all disgruntled right now. You are not special. but also thank you
Yeah,
for
but if
that.
anyone, if any of y'all haven't seen it, someone on the was like state government
It
website,
was the State
State
Department.
Department had
I
put under the
Yeah.
biography of President Trump and Vice President Pence being like, oh, they have left office as of whatever timestamp it was at the time. And then that was up there. And then when I tried to go and see the page on that site, I got the 404 error message page. So that was a
Yeah.
whole
They realized very quickly. The timestamp on it was like especially weird because it happened around noon Pacific time, and it said that the presidency ended at like 7:40 p.m. Today's date, which is the 11th, and it was like obviously when this whole thing happened, it was only like 3 o'clock in the East Coast, so everybody was like, "What time zone is this in?" Like even the minutes didn't like match up, so it was just like super weird. So then everyone's like, "Is this just a prediction or like this is the way they're announcing that he's like resigning or getting removed or something?" Um, but no, it was just a rogue staffer. But kudos to them.
I mean, at this point, I think like anyone who works for the government can just be like, what's the point? We might as well do whatever we can.
Yeah, it's been a very chaotic beginning of the year.
Yeah, everyone is so, I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, 2020 is going to end, 2021 is like looking brighter, but you know, time is a construct. No one said like a new year, new beginning. It's just continuing and going on as life usually does.
It's just the Western calendar anyway. Just some Europeans were like, let's use this calendar. I don't know if that's exactly what happened, but somebody made up this calendar because it was not the only calendar to exist. So,
Yeah, but I was gonna ask you what your New Year's resolutions were, but I feel like we've used up the time to talk about more important stuff, and I'm glad we did because I feel like I learned a lot from points that you brought up.
well, yeah, sometimes you just have to talk and process and see what other
But
people are thinking.
we'll save
Because
that.
we be living in craziness.
Yeah, we do be living in craziness, and I'm very glad I have friends like you and all of our other friends to be able to talk and discuss
And
things like this.
process.
Yeah, and process things like this because I feel like our main group chat that me and Madison are in just usually discuss the events that unfold in our country every day. So,
Yeah. Dude, we should, like, watch the inauguration together. Or, I don't know if you have your internship that day. I might be the only person available to do a watch party, so I guess I'll just watch alone.
maybe
It's
we'll
on a
see.
Wednesday,
I
so
mean,
it's
I
Wednesday at
wouldn't,
9
yeah.
a.m.
Oh, I will be
Or what?
working.
Oh, now it's next Wednesday because now it's almost been a week since the insurrection, which was 2 weeks before. But
Yeah.
well, depending on what time you start work, because it's at 9 a.m. our time.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be working. I'm gonna be working a whole shift that day. But no worries, I will be checking my,
We can just put it on TV in the background while you're working,
yeah,
and just look
hopefully.
over every few seconds to see that everybody is like doing okay on the TV.
Or I just enter a
You know,
meeting and I just have the inauguration playing in the background and I'm like, "Oh, hi." I'm
when you're zoom
multitasking right
back in,
now.
you're like, oh, this is where I am. Oh, wait, this is reminding me of TikTok, but I'll tell you after after we end.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna wrap up this episode for today. It's not as lighthearted as our previous episodes have been, but I think me and Madison just needed to process some things together regarding the state of our nation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just the huge
Okay. Is
these
there
days.
any last minute remarks you would like to say, Madison?
Everybody stream Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh my gosh, okay. Well, who knows if we're ever gonna talk about that whole drama. There's so much
Um,
happening.
I don't know about the drama part. Well, I know about the drama part of it. But most importantly, everybody stream it. This is our new Filipino icon,
Yeah,
and she's only
Yeah,
17.
Taylor Swift's baby. Yeah.
She's Taylor Swift's new baby, so I'm just very excited for the inevitable Folk Lover More 3-album tour where Olivia Rodrigo will be opening, and then Taylor Swift will come out on stage, and then they'll sing a High School Musical song together. I'm manifesting this.
Let's hope your manifestation comes true later in 20 whenever concerts are
Please.
available again.
Vaccines. When there's vaccines.
Anyone, when you can, get vaccinated if you're able to, and also still keep wearing a mask and social distance because I really want everyone to be safe. And also, I want our country to get herd immunity sometime soon because I want to get my life back on normal. Thank you.
Yes, me too.
Okay. I think that's it.
Please.
Thank you for watching an episode of Pineapple Headache. This episode was really a headache to wrap our minds around the headache of our nation.
This year is a headache.
Yes, thank you
This
for
year is a
watching
headache 11 days into
this
it.
episode and the state of, I'm sorry, oh my God.
Watching. Here we
Thank
are
you for
again with you
listening.
saying
This
watching.
episode, Our Nation 2021, continuing from 2020.
What year are we on, bro? Like, what
I'm sorry.
millennium are you in?
I think I myself am having a pineapple headache right now. But thank you for listening. We will see you at the next.
I will see you through this podcast. Yes, I will visibly see you with my eyes through this audible, like, communication.
Okay, finish the statement.
Okay, I will just say we will encounter you at the next headache.
Okay, bye.
Farewell.